Jashid,
Hey, hi.
welcome to Jar Exchange.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Let's just start from your Shark Tank experience.
Okay.
I've heard a lot about it. I've seen the video.
Okay.
But I want to know behind the scenes, the BTS of Shark Tank.
Sure.
Tell me what happens behind Shark Tank first. The whole process of before you enter the tank.
So you know the process. You apply. There's a in-person audition round, and after that they call you directly for Bombay,
Okay.
and you land up there. Everybody stays in the same hotel. So it's like a hotel full of Shark Tank participants. Then they take you to the studio. It was my first experience actually being in a proper studio. I had no idea what it looked like. So basically, there are huge rooms which are just black. They just have black walls, and they suspend these sets there essentially. They're creating worlds in those spaces. So the first day, they just take you through the studio, make you meet the business team, the production team, all of them. You meet different teams who will be working with you, and the first day they actually take you through the business team sort of walks you through the process. They question you on your numbers and things like that, and the production crew starts to work on your pitch, right? So essentially you're there for 4 days. The first 2 days is you just getting your pitch and you're set up proper.
So how much of your pitch was yours and how much was it helped by them?
I would say most of it is ours.
Okay.
They're just there to sort of tell you what will work. Because essentially you have 2 minutes on TV, on national TV to say whatever you want
Fair
to.
enough. Okay.
How can you say something that's going to have an impact?
Got it.
So they know their business well and you know your product well, and they sort of help you fine tune your pitch essentially. So they
So 2 days, pitch is ready now.
pitch is ready. Third day, there's no rehearsal, right?
Okay.
Rehearsal is just you looking at the mirror and talking essentially. So pitch undergoes multiple rounds of refinement, right? You have your first version. They tell you not to mug it up, right? And if you have to do it, they say do it in the last moment. The most challenging part for Prithvi and I was that it was in Hindi, right? So
No, that's been with a lot of people I've heard.
it's really hard, and something as technical as mushrooms, where everything is some scientific jargon, for us to communicate that in Hindi was very difficult. And Prithvi is normally the one who does all the talking. She's extremely comfortable being on stage, and she's really good at it. But here she had to sort of take a back seat because her Hindi is terrible. Mine was slightly better because I spent my bachelor's in Rajasthan. So I spent some time where I learned a little fair bit of Hindi. But she couldn't really help on stage. And whatever she spoke also sort of like taken out. So the first 3 days is just rehearsal. Then while all of this stuff is happening, you have to also give them what you want on the screens, right? There are 2 screens. There's a big TV and a vertical standee. So you have to work with them on what you want to put there. Most companies have teams, dedicated teams for this, right? But since we were a small brand, and at the same time, unluckily, there was a trade show happening in Delhi, and we had to sort of come for this and miss that one. So our team was there.
Okay.
So there was nobody that we could reach out for help. So we had to do everything while we were there in Mumbai. So we set up all the digital assets. The third thing was getting the display ready. So you can use whatever they have, which is standard tables and things like that, or you can get your own custom display done at your own expense. They won't pay for this. So they have their vendors who you speak to. They can connect you with people, and then you sort of brainstorm with them and get something
That's
done.
the product display.
Yeah, that was a giant mushroom in the background. What you can see on stage right now, all of that stuff was done with their help. So getting that put together was extremely stressful because that thing finally we saw like 10 minutes before we went on stage.
Okay.
Right? It was going on for 3 days, but it never really happened. So refinement of all of these things is what happens over that time. And if the business team or if they have any concerns, they'll come and they'll talk to you. You might have to clear some things for them. If your pitch has some issues, they might change it. And for us, that change kept happening till almost the last moment. Because they're like, no, you can't use this word. You can't say this. You can't do that. So that's sort of what happens till that last moment. Most of the time, you're just waiting for your turn to talk to the team. Right? You're just in one room and you get called to another room. Then people escort you throughout. You can't go anywhere. Even if you have to go to use the restroom, somebody has to come with you.
Okay.
Right? Because there's multiple things happening there. There's Kaun Banega Crorepati and multiple other shows happening. And if you enter the wrong room, you're now in a different set. So they don't want that to happen.
Okay.
So you have people following around all the time. So if you want to go somewhere, it's like you're back in school and you're like, listen, can I please use the washroom? And then the guy escorts you till there. It's a little awkward.
Hmm.
So that happens throughout, right? And then they keep calling you to a different room. There are multiple different rooms, one where the production crew sits, one where the business team sits. So you're just constantly being shuttled between rooms. And when this thing is over, finally they take you back to the hotel. And this keeps happening for 3 days essentially.
Okay. So your pitch went through multiple iterations until the last moment.
Until the last moment, it went through multiple iterations.
Okay. And then you're on stage here.
Yeah. Then basically they shoot your walk. They shoot that once before you do it.
Okay.
Right? And that music was giving me like stress for the longest time. After I did that walk twice with Prithvi, and I was constantly sweating. The stage, the whole studio is like at some 12 degrees. Right? Because they have seriously really hot lights there, and they don't want you to sweat or any of the makeup or whatever to run. Despite that, both of us were getting like sweat patches. My face was becoming sweaty, you know, and we were extremely nervous before walking on stage. The time that you pushed that door and walk in, that was very stressful. That walk was shot separately also, and also when you do it. And then there's this marking on the ground where you have to go and stand, all of that stuff.
And that's when you meet the sharks for the first time.
That's when you meet the sharks for the first time. The first 2 minutes is uninterrupted. Right? You get 2 minutes of your time from the time you go on stage till my ask is. That's your pitch essentially. That's rehearsed. Everything after that is...
How much of Nuedo did the sharks know before your pitch? Do they know everything about you?
No. They don't know anything about us, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're basically tossing a coin based on a 2-hour conversation. And 12 minutes of that is what made on TV, essentially.
Okay, so now I want to know the remaining 1 hour 38 minutes.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Because there is something which I feel is a miss here. But anyway.
There's a lot of things missing in here.
But that's for every pitch. But here suddenly something is flipping here. I mean, they like you and then they don't like you.
The 2 minutes that we actually said on stage is not the 2 minutes here either.
This is shorter.
Shorter, they omitted a lot of key things inside this and changed the narrative a little bit. Because a lot of what we pitched was for Make in India. Because if you look at the market right now, almost all the mushrooms, exotic mushrooms sold in India are coming from China.
Okay.
Right? And that's what we were sort of pitching for. And most of the times you test these mushrooms, we've personally seen it also, they test positive for heavy metals, for pesticides. They'll give you all the COAs. Certificates of analysis are given to you. They'll give it to you however you want it.
And you have no control over what the editing is, right?
Nothing. So you're just like crossing your fingers and hoping that they put it out in a way that doesn't make you look bad.
No, but the pitch was nice. I mean, sorry, you know what you had prepared.
Right.
But we are saying what is there.
Right.
I think
More or less, they kept it the same. But they did omit a lot of like key things that we had to say.
Aren't you making big claims here?
Yeah, but all the stuff that we speak about is all backed by research.
Like credible research.
Credible research.
And did they ask about all of this?
Yes, they do. Every single thing that we say before. So this again happens, right? A lot of due diligence on their side. When they're making the pitch for you, for anywhere, any claims that you're making, they ask for the proof before you go on stage.
Proof is a source.
It's a source, essentially a source. Yeah.
So you are saying, okay, if we forget about Shark Tank, can you make that claim again? In the sense, what are we talking about here? Reduction of percentage
50% reduction
in breast
cancer. Risk of breast cancer among women who consume mushrooms in China, essentially. So this was like a really long research that happened over a couple of decades where they followed women and they examined them on the basis of their daily habits. So they had different groups of women and they found that the ones who consumed mushrooms regularly had much lower risk of breast cancer.
Okay, now this is the pitch. What happened next?
Questions. And the thing is that it's not like, okay, I'll ask a question or whatever. They're just talking amongst themselves, right? So you have to pick and choose which question you're answering also.
Okay.
So I feel like it's done on purpose so that they have a lot of content and they can again now tailor it to their liking.
That's okay.
Yeah, but within the first few minutes itself, we understood that this is going to be a really hard task because the first question that came our way was, okay, are mushrooms actually vegetarian? That's where it started. Right? So Prithvi and I had this moment where we were like, I guess there was this understanding between both of us where we were like, okay, fine, we're going to start from like really like basic stuff. And that was actually it also worked in our favor because one of the main reasons that we went on Shark Tank was for awareness and education, right? And even the pitch, when you watch it, a large part of it talks about mushrooms and not just the brand.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to take this opportunity to sort of educate the Indian audience on what mushrooms and clear some big misconceptions or the major misconceptions surrounding mushrooms.
So let's take it from there. No, you've already said here that it has some. The perception of mushroom is bad.
Yeah.
What is it? Dogs pee.
Dogs pee. Kukur mutta.
What is? Why is the perception bad?
Okay, so couple of reasons possibly for this. First thing is the perception is not bad everywhere, right? Parts of India also. Our country is so big and so diverse that it's very difficult for us to come up with any general statement. Like whatever we brand as Indian cuisine internationally is not representative of India, right? What is chicken tikka? How many people actually eat it?
Yeah.
The same way, when I say that mushrooms have a bad reputation, I am speaking for the majority, but not for everybody, right? There are pockets of our country where mushrooms are really loved, where they have a strong affinity towards mushrooms. And those regions also happen to be where people are most closest to nature also, right? Like, northeast parts of Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Orissa, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Himachal, Uttarakhand, all these states have a very intimate relationship with mushrooms. They don't consider it bad or anything, right? So why do they have a bad reputation in India? I think it's again a controversial statement. It has a lot to do with caste, right? The same reason why a lot of people look down on meat. Mushrooms are something that people from the forest, tribal communities, they used to forage and they used to eat. So again, it was branded as tamasic, right? And again, this is again a very controversial thing because if you go and ask an Ayurvedic practitioner if mushrooms are actually tamasic, you have 20,000 species of mushrooms. You can't just categorize an entire kingdom as tamasic.
But as per Ayurveda, it is tamasic.
It's not black and white. What makes something tamasic, sattvic or rajasic also depends on how it is processed. Like, do you make it into a chawan? I'm just again giving you some examples. How do you make it into an oil or a paste, or do you cook it? What do you cook it with? When do you consume it? With what else do you consume it? All of these things decide whether something is sattvic, rajasic or tamasic.
So you're saying even if I ask a Ayurveda expert, their opinion is not clear.
They don't have clear-cut sources. Essentially, they don't know in the scriptures. They can't pinpoint and say which mushroom is what, right? Or what words mean what. And another thing also is to consider that tamasic is not bad, right? You can't just keep having sattvic. Tamasic also means calming, right? So when somebody needs those calming benefits, when they have to sort of slow down, a lot of Ayurvedic practitioners have also told us that we prescribe mushrooms because we want to increase the tamas in that person, right? So coming back to the question, I think it is has a bad reputation, because of religious reasons, right? Jains generally shy away from eating it, and certain sects of Hindus, they also don't eat it because they find it dirty. The second thing also, I feel, this is my opinion, is that it's a reminder of death and decomposition, right? So fear of mushrooms possibly could have been a Western idea that sort of creeped in slowly.
How is it death? Fungus.
Yeah, it's a fungus. So basically mushrooms are what? They're a fruiting body of fungi, and fungi, what do? They break down material in nature. So they're nature's recyclers. So they're a constant reminder of the impermanence of life. But considering how woke we are as a society in India, this shouldn't actually be a problem.
Maybe the woke society does not make feel it is bad, right?
Yeah,
They are the
possibly,
ones
right?
responsible,
Yeah, possibly. It could have been something that came from the West also. With all the westernization, how we've been so eager to take everything that comes from there. Mushrooms, maybe the idea that they're bad for you also came from there. And another misconception also which makes it so bad is the idea that it grows in dirty places, because
No,
decomposition.
but there are a lot of things that grow in dirty places, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, apart from mushrooms.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
So these are some of the reasons possibly that mushrooms have a bad image.
You are saying that the shelf life of mushroom is less than 24 hours?
Certain mushrooms, not all, certain.
What is the mushroom that we order from, say, Blinkit or Swiggy or
Button. These are called, they're Agaricus bisporus. That's a scientific name, commonly known as white button mushrooms.
And their shelf life, we keep it for a week or so, no?
Technically, if you refrigerate it and you keep it, what do you say, well ventilated, it can last you up to a week, but not more than that. You would have noticed also by the end of the week, you start seeing these yellow
Yeah.
circles around it, which is essentially bacterial blotch.
On fungus.
On fungus, yeah. So it's 90% water. So that means that it's fertile for other organisms to come and sort of grow also.
So till now everything is fine.
Till
You
now
also
everything's
claimed anti-aging properties. You can talk about that also.
Right. So mushrooms contain a lot of antioxidants. And why does aging? So the question is, why does aging happen in the first place? One of the main reasons for aging is oxidative stress. We are exposed to a lot of things in our surroundings which have free radicals which come inside our body and they wreak havoc. So antioxidants stop that oxidative damage, and mushrooms have a very high percentage of antioxidants. And in China specifically now, with the population really aging, they've started to look into certain specific compounds for their anti-aging benefits. For example, one of the most popular ones now is something called ergothioneine. So ergothioneine is like a miracle for aging, based on whatever research is out there. And certain specific species of mushrooms have them in very high amounts. So that's like sort of the buzzword in the mushroom industry these days.
But do you think now that your pitch could have been better?
Looking back at it, I don't think so, because we spent a lot of time doing, and again, what you see is what they're showing you. There were large parts of it which
Got cut.
which got cut out. So I don't think that we would have changed anything even now.
Okay. Where is the 1 hour 38 minutes missing that we're talking about?
Right, so there's a lot of stuff that didn't come on TV where the sharks were asking us questions which were very, extremely basic.
Okay, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we can. Like there was a time
Which is fine, bro. I mean, they might not know.
Yeah,
about
they
it,
don't. They didn't know, and that is good reality check for us also to know that even educated folks who are running like multi-million-dollar businesses, they don't know even the basics of these, right? Which just shows how much awareness, like how much of education and awareness is necessary in this market. So simple questions like, how do you know whether the mushroom that's growing out of this is toxic or not, right? Or how do you know that the mushroom that's growing out is a mushroom that you put into this? What if some random toxic forest mushroom grows out of it? First thing is that there is no such thing as forest mushroom, right? There are 20,000 species of mushrooms, they can grow anywhere. And less than 2% of mushrooms out there are actually toxic. And in those 2% of mushrooms, you can touch them. You can even chew them. It only becomes toxic when it enters your digestive tract, right? So there have been many amazing people on different Facebook groups who've taken even like the most toxic mushrooms out there, like chewed it and spat it out, and they're still alive.
Okay. So you're saying by and large it's not toxic.
By and large, it's not toxic. Treat it the same way that you would treat any plant.
Okay.
Right? You just because you see a red berry growing from a flower pot doesn't mean you go and pick it and eat it. Right? So whatever you don't know, you always approach it with caution. And same thing with mushrooms. It's not like mushrooms are more likely to be toxic. Nothing like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So one major misconception was that mushrooms can be toxic. And the second thing that they were not really convinced about is behavioral change in a country like ours. Right? So how they say that the companies spend or government spends thousands of crores to change simple behavior. So how is this going to happen? Like how can a company do this? Are you going to bet your entire business on some behavior change that might or might not happen?
Something flips. That's why I was asking.
The flip happened when they asked us about the market and our sales. Right? Like you can notice that also. Then towards the end, Aman asked us, okay, fine.
And also they smell something bad, which is I don't know.
I think okay. Now we'll come to that at some point. And man, another thing is also these market figures, right? You check any database, you'll find something different.
Yeah, but then you can make your own, right? It's basically assumptions.
I did the number that I spoke about was what I did based on bottom-up calculation, and
the number is what?
The
what is
market
that
size.
Yeah.
Essentially,
the number that was quoted right now here is what? The amount of mushrooms sold retail, is it?
not just retail, consumed in India.
That's all.
Yeah. That's a number I arrived at. But again, there's no way to cross-check this because whichever sources you go to, finally you end up with something else. And I went with the most modest estimate, essentially. I didn't want to oversell this. See, the reason I was not able to do that is also because this industry is so fragmented.
So you don't have data.
Yeah, it's not that easy to get. Companies like Patanjali uses it,
Hmm.
right? And it could be a part of their formulation. It could be an ingredient in one of their things. So we really can't. There is no source for anyone to go and say this is how much of medicinal
Medicine.
mushrooms are sold in India per year.
And there is no report by Big Four or anything.
No,
that-
nothing reliable at least.
How does it feel when they say कि you are overqualified to do this? In the sense you've done bits and you've done IIM and लोग चांद पे जा रहे हैं बड़ा मशरूम बेच रहे हो.
Oh, in that moment, of course, I felt bad, right? Like,
Okay,
he's
that-
insulting me on national TV.
Hmm.
But this is a conscious choice I made. I
Yeah.
made the decision to move out of your conventional path to success to do this.
Hmm.
I'm more happy here. I'm more satisfied, and I don't think I need anybody's validation to sort of, remind me why I'm doing this. I find joy in what I do every day, and it allows me to explore multiple facets of life that I couldn't do before through my other job, right? So, from a job satisfaction point, if it doesn't get better than this, I'm living my own dream essentially, right? But whether I am overqualified for this, I think the question is
No, so I'll be the devil's advocate.
Right,
here,
sure, yeah.
So what they're saying is that the TAM is very small.
right,
And we just discussed that it is very difficult to come up with a TAM.
right,
You believe in something, you've seen something, or you say there's not enough research and you believe it's a good market.
right.
The second thing here is that
But it's not that I
ये जो
Yeah.
मशरूम खाने वाला है इसकी तो मार्केट नहीं है ये तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं चलेगा इंडिया में.
right,
Now the point is either as a founder you have that resolve when you say I believe in this, and but what do you think about it in the sense, do you have this animosity कि नहीं I'll go and prove them wrong, or did it shake your confidence after? वो तो चलो ठीक है national television पे it would, I mean for us also I feel weird when someone insults me when I can
Right.
edit it, right? But I'm just saying apart from that, I mean after this, did you question yourself? Did you go back and see that maybe what they're saying is right? Because ultimately, we are going there to pitch something, make them believe in what we are doing and get their money.
right.
So their comments, their feedback or their criticism is also part of the game.
Right.
But did it make you question yourself on what you're doing? Is
Not really. The vision has always been clear.
Hmm.
And to say, see, just because I don't have a report which tells me how big the market is doesn't mean there aren't other signs or cues that I can bank on.
Hmm.
Right? For example, something very simple. Before I launched the company, I used to buy mushroom products like extracts and everything from the US. That is my sort of introduction to this world of mushroom nutraceuticals. Then COVID hit. I couldn't get those products anymore. I had to buy something on Amazon. Search for it. There was nothing. Literally, when we started, there were less than 10 brands doing this. Now there's more than 2,000-3,000.
Hmm.
And all in the span of 4 years, right? There are global companies with over $500-600 million turnover who are doing only mushroom infused daily staples.
Hmm.
The fastest moving coffee in 2019 on Amazon was a mushroom coffee. All of these things are pointing to the fact that this market is really growing.
Okay, so you think that I mean, you stand by the market size and your confidence and your what is that? Passion combined with conviction, and you are building this.
Right.
Anything that you think you reflect upon after this experience that there might be some truth in what they're saying?
Absolutely. Piyush made a really valid point that export is the place to be. Rather than
It didn't
trying to
come
change.
here,
Huh?
It didn't come
The
here.
last thing that he says is that
Okay,
essentially.
okay.
Export is the place to be because you can be in a country where this is already moving and, do good volumes. Rather than be in a space and wait for that wave to sort of hit. But that wave is here. If you just have to go to Amazon and search for the number of mushroom products available right now. And we see it quite often because we're part of so many different trade shows and flea markets and other places where we are constantly in touch with the consumer. The time that we started out, from that time to now, we don't really have to explain too much. Earlier, it was 15-20 minutes of conversation before we even come to the product.
But Shark Tank has played a role in that probably,
Shark Tank played a role, but there are things that are working which are beyond Nuedo or beyond me. There's a whole global community surrounding mushrooms that have sort of mushroomed and putting all this knowledge out there.
Okay.
And another thing also to look at is that research is all very recent, right? All started happening around 2010. Most of the research in mushrooms have started happening in 2010, and we have a lot of work left to do because Out of these 20,000 different mushrooms, we cultivate less than a dozen. And in India, that number is less than 5. Right?
Okay.
So there's so many mushrooms that we're still discovering every year that we don't even know what you could use them for. The potential applications are endless. Biodegradable alternative to thermocol is now being developed using mushroom mycelium. There's something called bioleaching. So bioleaching is essentially how you remove certain specific compounds. So bioleaching of e-waste. So what they're doing now is that they're crushing e-waste and making it into a slurry, and they're growing a fungus inside it, and that fungus is able to absorb, I think, more than 50-60% of certain valuable minerals inside that, like zinc and copper, I think. Again, 2 or 3 compounds inside that, metals inside that of high value, it's able to absorb it directly. And in record time compared to what we can do.
Another thing that happened is that, I mean, the comment was that you are right now selling something and asking money for something else. That is true, right? I'm just trying to say that not everything that they're saying is...
So again, here is where the positioning comes, right? So now we are in a market. You can't target everybody. The guys who are calling mushroom kukurmuta, they are not the folks who are going to buy this, right? So this comes to the problem of what is the issue in the market, right? People think it's dirty, people think it's non-vegetarian, so many things. Finally, all of this points to one direction, which is lack of trust, right? There is no trust in mushrooms. That's also why our tagline is "In mushrooms we trust." So my question to you is, how do you build trust on something or with somebody? That's essentially by creating a new experience, right? Give you something new to change your perspective regarding something. So that's what the Grow Kit is supposed to do. The Growing Kit is essentially a tool for you to understand what a mushroom is.
And that's also my introduction into this. And then...
Yeah, and our target market is not everybody in India.
So
right?
you're saying that I will not go and have a tincture unless I've experienced
No,
this?
I'm not saying that. My core audience or my target consumer is a mushroom lover, right? And they are also the evangelists for the brand. So the first few years that we were in the market, the question was, how do you get these people into your ecosystem when you have the final product ready? Because all the R&D, the certifications, the scaling up of the extraction, all of that took close to 3 years, right? And we had to sustain. And in that process, we also had to sort of build a community who can act as evangelists or people who can take our message forward, right? So we wanted that one mushroom crazy person in each house who would be like, hey guys, this is what it is and these are the benefits. How do you do that? We give them a new experience. You give them a product which looks great, where there's a sense of accomplishment, where you're learning something, so you can spread that knowledge forward. So our core customer is a mushroom lover who wants these benefits, right?
And that's the
core.
perfect evangelist also. I agree,
right.
because
They
anyone
are the
using
core.
this,
So
and
the first
people who do your Navedo mushroom experience also post a lot on social media. I don't know if you ask them to do it, but
No,
they
we
post a
don't.
lot
We
on
don't.
social
That's
media.
what I'm saying. There's so much user-generated content which comes through this because they want to do this. And now coming to your question, you don't need to love mushrooms to have the tincture. You can just go after the benefit. But there are multiple different products for each benefit. So they're all trying to fight for the attention. Okay, you want to sleep. Will you go for a mushroom or will you go for hemp or will you go for melatonin? Or are you going to get a massage? What are you going to do? Right? So we didn't want to be just another wellness brand. Again, coming back to Shark Tank, the reason that we made it on TV was the Grow Kit. Because of the time lapse, because it's so visually appealing, because it's so unique. That is in itself is case in point that it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is spread the message to more people.
Got it. So what was your expectation when you went, and what was the expectation? I mean, how did it turn out ultimately?
Expectation was very simple. We had to come on TV. Funding or no
You were very
funding,
clear.
it didn't matter to us. Yeah, of course, it would have been great if we got the money. But we are not banking on it. We are not like, oh, our complete business plan depends on if the money comes from the Shark Tank. No. We needed to come on TV, right? And we needed to do anything that could get us there because we put in all the effort to go on stage, spend 4 days of our time and hours in that stress. So how do we come on TV? Everything we did on screen was for that, including the mushroom growing kit, the time lapse. All of these things were put together so that they'll bite on something and then we make it to TV because we were not sure if we get funding or not. And if you don't get funding, the chances of you coming on TV are very less. So you would have seen in one,
Yeah.
right? There's just one episode in the end which comes for the brands which don't get the money. So for us, it was very clear: come on TV and spread awareness. So that happened.
Okay, how's life been after Shark Tank? What changed? You came on TV. That's a good media value that
Right.
you got. What happened?
So Shark Tank, after the shooting, I'll tell you after the shooting and then post the actual airing, right? Shooting happened. So now you have to see, these are things that take time to grow, right? So I have to plan. Is if in case I'm going to see the 3x or 4x
Correct.
jump in sales. Some people say 10, but we are a very niche brand. So we decided to go with safer bet of taking like a 3 or 4x, right?
The traffic might go 10x, but the conversions, I don't
Right.
know. Yeah.
So we had to take a bet, right, of how much we're going to make, because all of the stuff is also perishable and it takes few months to make. So that was the first call of what are we going to do. So like we said, in mushrooms we trust. We were like, okay, fine, we are coming to TV. Let's manifest this and let's prepare for a 4x jump in sales. Whatever is more than that, we'll tell folks that we were busy or there are too many orders, and we'll send it later. So the production took a lot of time, and in between all this, my co-founder and I, we got married.
Okay.
So we were not in office for a couple of weeks. It was extremely stressful, but shout out to my team, guys. You saved us, You all didn't let any stress come to us, and you managed it very well. Because we had such a great team, they were able to stick to it and keep everything running while we took a break. Then after that, when we joined back, you get a call. We asked them, are we coming on TV? We don't know. We'll tell you. Everything is that. When are we going on stage? We'll tell you. Can I go here? No, we'll let you know. When can I go home? We'll tell you, right? So that's how this whole experience was, and that's the most stressful part of not knowing. The same thing happened during this. Till the night before the episode came, actually on the day of the episode coming out is when we were sure it's coming out.
So you had no time to prepare for...
No, there was nothing we could do. Again, we took a bet. We said, okay, if it's coming out, it's tomorrow. Let's put this cryptic Instagram post.
How much time between shooting and airing?
Shooting happened in October. Episode came out in Feb.
Okay.
Right?
4 months.
4 months. Then the question was, okay, fine, now the episode is out. What's going to happen next? Bunch of things happened. Lots of support, lot of love from the community. So Myco-Files in India, we are a very tightly knit community. A lot of people know each other, but we got lots of support coming in from people that we didn't even know. Thousands of messages coming in from all over the country saying that we love what you guys did and we're really proud of what you've done. You put yourself out there. It doesn't matter if people don't understand, but we believe in you still, right?
Myco-Files are?
Myco-Files are people who love mushrooms.
Mushrooms, okay.
Right? So mushroom lovers sort of came together. And it was also like, this is something that I was discussing, Mushrooms usually pop up after a lot of thunder and lightning. So a lot of the comments that Aman had made, all of that sort of made people come up and support me and saying, hey man, she shouldn't have said that to you. Do you want us to do something about this? But you guys did a good job. A lot of positive comments. Second thing that happened was a lot of conversations that was stalled for a really long time. It kickstarted again.
Which is good.
Which is great. Then there were competitors who came after us saying, hey, send us this. Do you have this certification? Tell us about this. You said this. How could you say that? So a lot of that came in. So a lot of, little bit of friction came in because
Yeah,
of
I mean, once you get attention, there's both sides of it.
that. Exactly. So a lot of friction came, like not lots, I would say, little bit of friction from that. The most hectic part of all this was actually processing all the orders.
How much was it then?
Huh?
3x, 4x?
It was actually 5x of what we were generally making. And all hands had to be on deck for it. Everybody had to be in the facility, and we are running almost like 12 to 14 hour shifts after the episode came out to make sure that everything reaches everybody. So that was very hectic. But that only lasted for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But after the drop, it still was in a better place than we were before.
Yeah, it was like a brand campaign for you.
Right. And apart from that, again, invitations for a lot of interviews, lot of different articles, all of those things also happened. We suddenly got a lot of attention and like invitation to talk at different places. So that happened. That was again really good for us. And then it was just people recognizing us. Like even 2 days ago when we were having lunch near our office, someone came up to the table and said, hey, I've seen you guys on Shark Tank. So that happened.
So all in all, it's worth the penny, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was really good experience for us, and I think it did a lot of things for us.
And
in
maybe they
terms of
put
brand.
money, I mean, if you need some time later.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
See, I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's very difficult to understand what's genuine and what's not genuine these days.
Right.
When I say genuine, even Horlicks was sold by saying it'll grow immunity or your
Right.
height or boost energy, right? There is so much happening with Ayurvedic products where there is one side echo chamber, second side echo chamber. I don't know because everything, even my toothpaste is considered in a way that, okay, it's something beneficial for me. You coming in and saying mushroom focus, mushroom, there is, I mean, so many benefits you told
Right.
me. So how does one person understand all of this, man?
Again, very good question. So let's look at the Horlicks example, right?
Hmm.
What could we have done as customers to know that?
Read the label.
Yeah, that is the main thing, right? Understand what the product is. Do your research.
Hmm.
If the product is 80% sugar or 50% sugar, then definitely it's not as good for you as it's advertised, right? So one thing is having the awareness or the information to make a informed decision and not trusting any marketing or anything blindly. But people don't have the patience for that. So that's why through our events, through our educational programs, one of the things that we do is we give people the information. We don't sell them anything. We don't sell them anything. We give people the information to make the right decision regarding the product. And if we are doing the right things about the product, then they will automatically come through the brand.
Okay, tell me about India versus say US, India versus China. I don't know. I'm not asking about numbers. If you have numbers, you can tell me. But
Sure.
how's the market evolved there, and where are we when it comes to India?
Right. So start with China. China is the world's largest producer and consumer of mushrooms.
Okay.
They grow more than 200 varieties, 200 different species of mushrooms. 200. To put things into context, we grow less than 10 in India. Okay.
It's a demand problem because we are not eating is the reason that people are not growing,
Yes, it works like that.
or
also.
is it like China has better conditions to grow? I don't know.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So China also has like less than 10% of their actual production is exports. And
Okay.
in that, they have managed to capture 93% of the world's export market in mushrooms has been captured by China with less than 10% of their production.
And 90% of what they produce is consumed inside,
Yeah,
and 10% is the 93% of the world's.
exactly.
Oh wow.
So if you look at the per capita consumption figures, China's around 8 kilos. 8 kilos per person per year. 8 kilos of mushrooms per person per year. USA, Europe is around 2 to 3 kgs per person per year. Guess where India is?
Shouldn't be anywhere.
Lot of
near
people, ha, theek hai, chalo. Yeah. But how many? How many kilos or grams or whatever? Just take a wild guess.
10 grams.
Better than that. 80 grams actually. It's less than 100 grams.
Less than 100 grams per person per year. Okay,
yeah.
makes sense.
And China is at 8 kilos.
8 kilos. So there's lots to go.
There's lots to go. So China is the
Number
world's market leader in mushroom extracts, all of that stuff. Also because mushrooms are an integral part of traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay.
So they use it in a lot of TCM formulations. Lot of the trials, lot of the mushrooms, the way that we grow them, the research came from China.
So the market is for medicinal purpose rather than, what did you say, eating?
Culinary.
Culinary purpose.
Both.
Okay.
Both are very present. Every meal in China that you go to, any restaurant, wherever you go, there will be a mushroom in it. Might not be the main ingredient, but it's there. And they introduce a lot of really cool technology of growing mushrooms. And you would think that the technology came from some research institute or from some, through some labs. But farmers in China have contributed a lot to growing mushrooms. Earlier, they used to grow mushrooms on logs because logs is where you generally find mushrooms growing, right? They introduced the mycelium inside the log, and the log grows whenever the conditions are right. The mushrooms grow out of the log. There was a point of time where they were not getting enough logs to do this in China, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because they were growing so many mushrooms, they ran out of wood, or in certain sections they didn't have it, but they still had to continue the business. So they tried different things and they found that they could mix a bunch of agri-waste together like soya hulls or rice bran or straw or sawdust or whatever they could find locally. They started just mixing all of this stuff and trying to grow mushrooms. And now you have this, which is like an artificial log of wood, right? This is like a synthetic log that you've made using straw. So that technology came from China.
Got it.
So a lot of the grassroots level work in mushrooms happened in China, and that's they are centuries, I would say, like ahead of us. They started the stuff way before us. They made many of the mushrooms popular. Reishi was introduced to the world through commercial cultivation by China. They made this a thing, right? And
So do we import from China?
do we
India.
almost all the mushrooms, exotic mushrooms sold in India come from China.
Okay.
The dry ones.
And that's why your pitch was Make in India.
Exactly. And even the mushroom extracts that come from China, all of it is from abroad. There is not a single company here which grows mushrooms and then makes their own extracts in India.
Now we're making a case of why the market is good. Okay. The West. What's happening there?
USA, very mushrooms are really popular. Again, the wave came around 10 years ago. And their issue is the same thing. Market is flooded with Chinese products. There's a very large campaign going on in the US for Make in USA, but those products are very expensive.
Okay.
China can sell you mushrooms at the price that I can grow it. They have 10,000 what do you say? They have farms which produce 10,000 tons a day.
So it's like any other thing that China sells. You can't beat them with economies of scale.
You can't. They're just way ahead of you, right? And what I like about China is that you would think that, oh, it's some factory farm, completely automated, but you have both. You have entire villages for whom it's like a livelihood and people are growing it very low tech in bamboo huts and sheds. They're also growing thousands of tons of mushrooms. And then you have completely unmanned factories where everything is assembly line. People don't touch anything, There's hardly any people in there. And they're also growing the same amount of mushrooms. And China, both are somehow able to coexist. I find that pretty cool.
Okay. Now talk to me about the Indian market. Is there anything else that is there in the West? Europe, how is Europe doing?
Europe is also fine, but they have very stringent regulations regarding at least the nutraceutical side. So some mushrooms cannot be sold in Europe because they are not an approved food product. The European regulations are much more stringent than USA.
Okay. Coming to that, what's the regulation in India for this?
They come under FSSAI. It's a food product.
Okay. So now in India, we are not growing enough of it is the problem, or you're saying once the awareness grows, the demand will grow and then people will also start production?
I'd say it's
Chicken and egg.
Chicken and egg, but largely the issue here is with awareness. Why don't people see the question now? We have to ask ourselves, why are people not eating mushrooms? If people are eating, there are so many government schemes, for people to learn how to grow mushrooms. They have subsidies to set up mushroom cultivation units. They're pushing it like anything because you're using agri waste on one side. Anybody can do this. You can do it super low tech. It's approachable, nice livelihood. So many aspects of mushroom cultivation are amazing. But why are we still not there yet? It's the same reason that we never used to eat eggs. Now everybody eats eggs every day. But if you speak to your parents or your grandparents, it was something that you had once a week.
But it was a very concerted effort.
Exactly.
Sunday hoya, Monday, rose khao, ande, the government did it and everything, right?
Where did it come from? Why did they do that? Because
Protein deficiency.
No.
Okay.
There was a surplus of eggs and poultry in the market and they wanted to support the poultry farmers. So the campaign came like that.
Okay. But that's not going to happen here.
Let's hope it might. If enough of us push for it, it could be something that comes out of this. Because I feel like the main issue is an awareness issue. There's too many misconceptions and not enough people know about it.
So is there a pattern? Is it a metro product, mushrooms? Like it's a tier 1-ish product, or how is it?
You want to hear the crazy, again, very good question. Tier 1 and village. If you go to remote parts of Uttarakhand or Meghalaya or even Kerala or even parts of Coorg or Madikeri, even Bangalore, outskirts of Bangalore, when it rains, you find these ladies sitting outside with these wild harvested mushrooms, right? So tier 1, where educated folks are there who had these mushrooms abroad in some Asian or Italian cuisine. So if they've been exposed to Asian or Italian cuisine, they know about mushrooms. They've been abroad, they've had this. It's either them or vegans, because vegans want additional sources of protein, right? So these three folks are mostly found in tier 1. Then you have people who are our grandmother's generation, or people who grew up very close to nature, for whom thunder and lightning means next day morning they will go looking for mushrooms and they have their spots. They know which ones to pick. They know everything about this. For them, it's like a gift of the forest. You can't grow these. It's something that pops up every now and then, but it's something that really look forward to. So it's there in
Extremes.
both ends of the spectrum, which makes it very, very fascinating. Another fun fact is, you have different names for mushrooms in different states. In the local languages, you have different names. It's not mushroom across. So you have anabe, you have kalan, you have in Kerala, koon, right? Kumman. So many different names of mushrooms are there. Where did it come from? It has to come from like.
It's like mangoes, right? I mean, I find mangoes we call very different names in North India than South India. The same thing.
Right, but exactly right. But I'm saying it's part of our culture. It didn't come from.
Yeah,
it didn't
yeah.
come from anywhere. We already had this as part of our diet. Somewhere something happened that made us forget this.
Do you think that awareness of magic mushroom is more than normal mushroom?
So yeah, fun fact. Whenever we do any flea market,
तो पहला क्वेश्चन यही आता होगा ना?
people know only two mushrooms: magic mushroom or button mushroom. That's it, right? And they see this and they see that. The first question that always comes to their mind is,
This looks like trippy, man.
yeah, okay, yeah, mushrooms are beautiful. They are art, right?
Yeah.
The first question is always, hey, can I go any mushrooms with your growing kit, or is it just for oysters? Yeah, if I could do that, I possibly.
So what's
be
a magic mushroom actually?
Right. So magic mushrooms are mushrooms which come under the genus psilocybe, which contain this compound called psilocybin.
Okay.
So psilocybin is the compound that produces a mystical experience that makes you hallucinate and have a spiritual experience essentially. So all mushrooms which contain psilocybin are called magic mushrooms. So it's
And
not
they're
a mushroom.
primarily grown in one state of India, is it?
They're not grown anywhere, they're wild.
Okay.
They grow by themselves.
But in one state of India.
No,
only.
they're found all over India, even in Bangalore.
But why is it famous only where that people will go to Kodaikanal and then have
It
that?
just became popular for that, It's like cannabis in North India. It grows all over the Himalayas. But people still go to one place for it, maybe. Himachal.
Yeah, but another reason is that they don't get caught doing things. It's banned. So magic mushrooms is banned in India.
Magic mushrooms are not banned, psilocybin is.
So I can technically have magic mushroom.
Not necessarily, because they contain psilocybin.
I don't know,
automatically.
right?
Yeah, if it contains psilocybin, it's illegal automatically.
But I don't know.
That it has psilocybin in it?
Yeah.
I don't know. We have to speak to a lawyer, man. I'm not a lawyer. So
No,
I don't
I'm
know.
just generally understanding.
Guys, please don't take legal advice from us. This is not a cue for you to eat magic mushrooms and then say,
Yeah,
I
and
don't know
I've
about
never
it.
had them anyways. Yashit, thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
man, thanks a lot for
Yeah,
having me.
great. I mean, this is...
Yeah, thanks for having me, and it was really fun conversation. Yeah. You want to close this by harvesting the mushroom?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like doing it, but I
Yeah,
mean,
just
it's too
twist and pull,
pretty, man.
Yeah, twist,
Oh,
twist.
ek saath?
Yeah, like a whole bunch.
Okay, I'll hold it.
I'll hold this thing. You can use both hands if you want to.
I have to twist it.
Yeah, just twist it. Yeah, that's it.
Oh. Cool.
That's it.
Chalo, let's eat.
और जा रहे हैं
अरे मरेंगे तो इकट्ठे मरेंगे भाई.
It gives you that
It's yummy.
small
No, it's
kick.
nice, no?
It's actually yummy.
Small kick. It's almost like honey.
Right, so the lady comes and she's like, does this thing actually work? I was like, why don't you try it?
So you were doing this all this there.
I didn't do it. I am always on a cocktail of this.